I'm probably going to jail for this. I don't care. I've stayed quiet long enough. A few years ago, I agreed to be a sperm donor.
Oh no.
She said she just wanted the baby and not a relationship. I was young and naive and I trusted someone that I shouldn't have. When she told me she was pregnant, I congratulated her and moved to California. I thought that was the end of it. But then she started messaging my mom. She said she had no one and she pressured us all to be at the birth. So we did. We were all at the birth. I signed the birth certificate and I decided to be in the baby's life as a dad.
Once you sign that birth certificate, it's over for you as a sperm donor. Legally, you are now the father, even though you may not be biologically. And the state will make sure you take care of that baby by any means necessary, even if it means putting you in jail if you cannot afford the child support.
I let her and the baby live in my Airbnb for free. I had to pay child support and she took over $52,000 from me. I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought I was being a dad. She started asking me to be a family, and when I refused, she called me a deadbeat online and I stayed silent throughout it all. 2.5 years later, I decided to take 2 DNA tests. Both of them said the same thing. I was not the father. When I shared the results, she said that I was lying and that we tampered with the test.
Before you all start believing his shit, some company with her DNA, that could have been anyone's DNA.
She filed a restraining order. A judge silenced me and made me remove all my posts based on Maria's claim that I was actually the father.
Alliance, are you hearing how the system works? Whatever the woman says in these family courts will be taken at face value. The man is guilty until proven innocent, and he has to prove his way out of everything.
Here is the court order DNA test that I had to request, and it confirmed again I am not the father. And while I was silent, she kept going. She was changing dates on photos, spinning stories, manipulating people online. Some people believed her. But while she was doing that, I was uncovering the truth. Connections, manipulations, lies, and the truth about who the real father is. This is just the beginning of Maria's web of lies. Here's part 2 of my side. Apparently, I've been in a full-blown relationship I wasn't even aware of. Maria and I had a one-night stand on December 12th, 2020. She was in her 30s and I had just turned 24. And let me say this slowly for the people in the back. We were never in a relationship. She wanted more and I didn't. So instead of taking the L, she turned into a full-blown homie hopper, like back to back. Wasn't even discreet about it. She just went down the roster like it was her job. I guess the logic was, if I won't date her, maybe I'll change my mind after I watch her hook up with all my friends. Bold strategy. It didn't work. And in case you think I'm still lying, her own cousin confirmed that we were never together. I'm sorry, Hadley. I know you hate this picture, but this is the time that Maria asked me to be a sperm donor.
Some women are like this. They believe they will make a man jealous and want to be with her if she hooks up with his associates. Seeing, if you are one of these chicken heads woman, then you are a rotted idiot. Seeing, you're a fool. Learn this right now. The man you're trying to get jealous will see you as a whore, only to be smashed and nothing more.
So she doesn't want to do IVF, and I'm convenient because we've already slept together once. She says she wants nothing from me, and instead of doing the smart thing and walking away, I said yes.
He was thinking with his anaconda. My lions, this is why I tell you, don't think with the wrong head. Messing with random woman can get you caught up, get you trapped.
Because I was 24 and apparently thought the best use of my time was becoming a discount sperm donor for someone that I wasn't even texting back. I was thinking with the wrong head, obviously. She said, no strings, no drama. I just want a baby. I was like, sounds easy enough, I can do that. I really thought I could just sleep with her and help her get pregnant. And then go back to business as usual. Like, thanks for stopping by. Good luck with the whole parenting thing. Top tier, dumbass behavior. I own that, I know it, but I genuinely believed her when she said it would be simple. No drama and no strings attached. That's not what happened. So this woman told me I got her pregnant the same day she got her period, and then accidentally exposed herself on TikTok 3 years later. May 7th, 2021, Maria gets her birth control arm implant out. She's from my hometown, and she was living in New Orleans at the time, so she could only be here on the weekends. So she came in town the next 2 weekends, May 14th and May 21st. We partied with my friends, she stayed over. She had someone take these pictures and then later tried to use them to prove we were in a relationship. We weren't. What was I supposed to say? Don't take a picture with me? And then I went to California. While I'm there, I post with another girl, Whitney. She's only a friend, but Maria didn't know that. Maybe she got jealous, I don't know, but what she did next will never cease to amaze me. On June 6, 2021, Maria gets her period. She knows I didn't get her pregnant, and she also knows I'm about to move across the country. So she invites me to brunch and she tells me she's pregnant, fully knowing that she's not. Then she starts drinking, like a lot. We then leave and go to another restaurant and meet up with my friend Dylan, and she also tells him that she's pregnant. Dylan and I think it's weird that she's drinking, but she insists it's okay. Here's the proof that this video is on June 6th.
Fuck this place, Family California.
Like, hey, you didn't get a lemon in you.
Oh, fuck, wrong way.
This video is dumb, but it shows two things. Maria was drinking, and I made it very clear that I was leaving. And that's important because that brunch, that's the last time I ever saw her until the week before the baby was born. Here's how we found out that she was on her period when she told me she was pregnant. Here's a photo she posted to TikTok to try to prove we were in a relationship. She changed the dates on the photos, but we'll get into that later. And then she posted this one. I then tell my girlfriend, who's a nurse, that she took that photo the day that she told me she was pregnant. And had these like, hold up, there's no way. Let me see that ultrasound photo again. So we pull up the ultrasound that she sent my mom. The ultrasound was done on January 17th, 2022. And it showed that she was 32 weeks and 1 day. I've since learned that pregnancy is calculated from the first day of a woman's last menstrual period. And if we count back 32 weeks and 1 day from January 17th, 2022, we get June 6th, 2021, the day she told me she was pregnant. And we didn't sleep together that day either. Since she never saw me after that, that means that she knew from the beginning that I was never the father. Furthermore, here's proof that I'm in California the only weekend that she could have gotten pregnant. She trapped me before there was even a baby. And the crazy part, we probably would have never found out if she wouldn't have posted the photos. She exposed her own lie, and it only gets crazier from here.
The trouble a woman would go through to get what she wants is amazing, brethren. It's a good thing this hyena did not cover all her bases, and it's a good thing that child is not his, even though according to the system, it won't make a difference.
Here's how I ended up the birth of a baby that I was only supposed to be a sperm donor for. July 12th, 2021, she confirms that she's actually pregnant. We only found that out later when she started posting on TikTok, but at that time she kept quiet. From July 22nd through July 26th, I was with my friend Whitney. She met my mom and she posted it on Facebook. Maria didn't know she was just a friend, and based on what happened next, I think she got jealous. Because not long after, Maria starts messaging my mom.
Hello.
Hey mama.
The night, I guess that we first met, I guess was that night at the half show. One of the first things after we introduced ourselves and sat down, I can remember her saying to me that she hoped that I didn't think that she took advantage of my son. And of course I gave a full answer to that. She went on to discuss, and she mentioned, how I guess she was impressed with you to be so young and so successful at that age. I can remember her mentioning your house and all your toys.
She wanted access to his things, seeing? She was nothing more than a gold digger, willing to sacrifice this man to get what she wanted.
From that point on, Maria started pulling my mom in deeper. She would ask for baby pictures of me, and she told my mom that baby's gonna look just like me. She made my mom feel important and needed, and when Maria told her that she had no one, my mom felt pressured to come to the birth.
She told me if something ever happens to her, I want you to raise the baby. And I just remember thinking, this poor girl has no one.
By then, my family was in, they were planning to be at the birth, and I was about to be too. My mom tells me that Maria told her she has no one coming to the birth, no family, no support. She's scared and she really wants me to be there. So I booked the flight on February 23rd, 2022, and it's $677. And I sent Maria the screenshot. By this time, Maria has already had 2 separate baby showers and never posted anything about it. Not one bump photo, nothing. And then a few hours after I booked my ticket, and on the same day that I sent her the screenshot confirming I was gonna be at the birth. And at 8.5 months pregnant, that is the first time she ever posts that she's pregnant. And she uses my last name. She waited until I was fully in and then she told the world. She didn't just lie, she made sure the lie had backup. The day the baby was born, I was there and I was the first person to ever hold the baby. And I just remember thinking, this is what it feels like to become a dad. I didn't care about anything else in that moment. My parents are there posting about how they're grandparents again. And then the nurse comes in and she brings in the forms for the birth certificate and the acknowledgement of paternity. I signed everything because I thought the baby was mine and Maria knew I would. After the birth, she scheduled a full-blown newborn photo shoot. She posed me holding the baby and they would jump in the photos. She had my dog in the photos too and had already ordered a bandana that said Big Brother. She shared the photos online, but I had no idea because I was already blocked on Facebook. She was posting pictures of me and the baby, making it look like we were this perfect little family. And while I'm across the country, she's messaging my childhood friends. She's asking my best friend Dylan and his girlfriend Megan to babysit, and they do. She starts asking my friends and family if they want to be the godparents. She didn't just ask one or two people, she told multiple friends they might be chosen. Literally, this is what my brother posted of me, the baby, and my friends. He joked, the godparents who didn't make the cut. And Maria liked the picture. At first, she kept things peaceful and calm. It's like she didn't want to risk pushing me away too fast. Once I was settled into this nice little world she created for me, that's when she started to tighten her grip. And that's when the real abuse begins.
She had to fulfill the rest of her evil desires at some point.
You don't realize it's abuse when there's no bruises. But she didn't need violence. She used my love for the baby to control me. She waited until I was all in. Once I settled into my role as a father, once she knew I wasn't going anywhere, that's when it changed. The control started small, a comment here, a demand there, but it escalated fast. It was Easter 2022 and I flew home to see the baby. I spent nearly $900 on flights. My whole family was at the house. My parents, nieces, uncles, aunts, cousins. I blocked off my Airbnb and I hosted everyone including Maria and the baby. At first, things seemed normal. She was upstairs drinking, talking with my mom, being friendly. I was downstairs with my cousin just hanging out. The more she drank, the more her attitude started to shift.
Isn't she supposed to be breastfeeding this baby? Why is she out here drinking?
There was this edge to her, sharp glances and short responses. You could feel it building. Then, out of nowhere, she leans over the upstairs balcony, clearly drunk, and screams down at me in front of everyone, "Get your ass up here and take care of your child." My mom says this is the first time that she saw it. That Maria expected something from me way beyond what we agreed to. For me, it was the first sign that if I didn't do what she wanted, she would humiliate me in front of everyone. After that day, things shifted, subtly at first. But every time I didn't respond fast enough and give her what she wanted, she would use the baby against me. May 16th, 2022, she asked if her and the baby could stay in my Airbnb rent-free. I don't answer right away. A few hours later, she threatens to take the baby away from me, so I say yes. She moves in, I cover rent, utilities, internet, everything. Meanwhile, I can't rent it out during peak season. I'm losing money left and right, but I tell myself it's worth it to stay in the baby's life. August 2022, I come back again, so I have to drive an hour each day just to see the baby, and then an hour back just to sleep with my parents. I keep showing up, I keep complying, because by now, it's clear. I push back, I lose access. After she moved out of the Airbnb, the control didn't stop. She texted me, "This is what I want from you." She wanted me to start paying the full daycare amount, even though there was no court order in place. And in exchange, she said that I could have the baby every other weekend if I stay at my parents' house. I've never been arrested, I didn't use drugs, I've never been violent, abusive, or even raised my voice around her. There was no court ruling, no concern from a judge, nothing. It wasn't co-parenting, it was control. My access to the baby came with conditions that she made up as she went.
Many men are caught up in situations like this where they do whatever they are being forced to, just to spend some degree of time with a child they believe is theirs, knowing that they would rather not ever see the mother again, but they have to suck it up just to get to see the child.
Then, about a week later, she posted a photo on Instagram with the man that we now know is the dad. Just something to note, we'll get into that later. Then came the baptism. We talked about this in my first video, but here's a quick recap. I drove 14-hour round trip just to be there. The night before, she asked me to come hang out. I said no, I didn't want to give her the wrong impression. So she told me I wasn't allowed to come to the baptism, just like that. I didn't fight it, I just let my parents go instead. I was just trying to keep the peace. By summer of 2023, things took another turn. Now it wasn't just emotional pressure, it was legal. I was overwhelmed and hiring an attorney felt too expensive. Plus, I had no reason to question paternity.
My lions, always get a liar if she has one. Go beg and borrow the money if you have to.
Maria told me if I didn't just sign what her lawyer sent, she would take me to court and get $1,400 a month in child support and $16,000 in back pay. I felt trapped. In those same messages, she said that she didn't want to go in front of a judge. Looking back now, that feels important. I agreed to pay $750 a month and $10,000 in back child support just to avoid a legal battle. I didn't think I could win, so on August 21st, I wired her $10,000. You think that once the court order was in place, things would settle down, but they didn't. If anything, the control got worse. I made my first court-ordered child support payment on November 1st. Less than 2 weeks later, she's calling me names, refusing to let me keep the baby overnight, and demanding more money again. Even simple visits came with strict conditions. When I tried to coordinate a time to see the baby, she laid out impossible rules for pickup and drop-off. She told me exactly when, where, and how, and still refused overnight visits. She insulted me in one breath and demanded child support in the next. I gave her extra money, $30 here, $250 there, all outside the court order. I was trying to avoid conflict and trying to stay in the baby's life. Then out of nowhere, she texted me that she wants to be with me. I told her gently, again, that's not what I want. Days later, she posted photos of me and the baby at our house on Christmas morning, like we're a happy little family. By early 2024, it felt like there was no line that she wouldn't cross. February 1st, I make the court-ordered child support payment on time. On Valentine's Day, I posted this photo while I was out to dinner. I wasn't even in town, it wasn't my girlfriend, just a night out. Maria saw it and immediately started freaking out, texting that I should have taken the baby to dinner instead. Then she said, keep this up and I won't let you see her anymore. I sent her $100 for a Valentine's dinner for her and the baby, just trying to avoid another explosion. March 1st, I pay again, $750 in support, plus $31 extra for dance class. Again, not court ordered, just trying to keep the peace. Then she posts birthday photos, thanking our family and best friends for coming to celebrate. We don't share family or best friends. She just went out of her way to find my family and friends, message them, and inserted herself into every part of my life. I paid for the birthday party, $364, so she did need extra money. However, the next day, she demands the child support payment 26 days early. When I say no, she tells me to die and says I'll never see the baby again. The next day, I sent her $156, not because I wanted to, or was ordered to by the courts, because I felt like I didn't even have a choice anymore. Then she posted even more birthday photos, this time at dinner with my family, like everything was normal. I guess because I paid her, she was happy. By this point, I was drained, financially, emotionally, mentally. She controlled when I could see the baby, how much I paid, what I was allowed to post, and how I lived my life. And every time I pushed back, she would punish me for it. It didn't matter how much I gave, she always wanted more. And I didn't think it could get worse. But then I met Hadley. And for the first time since meeting Maria, I was in a real relationship. An actual one, and it was serious.
This man's story is so common today, you wouldn't believe it, brethren. And for the childless men out here, please don't get these women pregnant if you aren't ready for a child and if you didn't take the necessary time to get to know her and her family.
But his girlfriend is a little mastermind.
Those nurses who built giant platforms on TikTok for being such amazing, kind people, they were narcissists too. Specifically, Hadley.
Girlfriend, who was a nurse, tampered with the test result. Nurse Hadley lost custody of all her children.
Okay, I want to take a moment to address the people saying I'm a clout chaser for addressing this again. This became an entirely different battle for me when they attacked Hadley. When I originally shared my story to clear my name, Maria, through her cousin, came online and spread horrible lies about Hadley. They said that she lost custody of her kids, that she was a felon, and that she tampered with the DNA test. None of those things are true, but so many people believed it. I watched the person I love cry while strangers made videos about her. They review bombed her book without even reading it, and despite all of that, she still stood by me. So yes, I came with a literal binder of receipts, and I'm going through it in order so they can't twist things again. Because it's one thing to hurt me, but it's a whole other thing when you're attacking the person that I love. Hadley and I met at the gym, and we went on our first date on March 20th, 2024. About a month later, I brought Hadley to lunch with my mom. My mom told us about Maria texting her recently. Maria was saying that I was selfish, that I wasn't allowed to see the baby anymore, and that she didn't want the baby to grow up like me. Hadley said she can't do that, there's a court order. Because Hadley knew the system, she'd already been through it herself. On June 8th, we spent the day with the baby, Hadley's kids, and some close friends.
Oh, Lord God, man. Jesus. His new woman has a bunch of kids. Yo, brethren, she may be a good woman right now, seeing, but hey, you know what? I wish you the best, my youth, seeing? But let's move on.
At cornhole, we went to a birthday party and even had dinner with friends that night. It was just a good day. But when Maria found out that the baby and I were at Hadley's house, she lost it. She texted my mom saying I don't get to play house with their daughter. It's an interesting choice of words considering how the story ends. Maria demanded that I call her immediately or she's going to call the police. I had to leave the baby with Hadley and her friend to go to another room so I could calm Maria down. Soon after, I go on a bachelor trip that was planned months in advance. While I'm gone, Maria jumps on Facebook and has a full-blown meltdown. She says I'm absent from the baby's life and that I skipped town on Father's Day. I had just seen the baby a few days ago and already had a flight booked to be back on Father's Day. But reality doesn't stand a chance when Maria opened social media. Her post was public, no matter how many times she claims it was only friends and family. This little globe icon says otherwise. There's no way it was only her 5,000 close friends and family. Hadley saw it, her family saw it, probably half the state saw it. She called me a deadbeat, she said that I put my dick in anything that walks, and accused me of shoving hot dogs down my throat for Instagram likes. Which honestly is pretty funny. But the real kicker, she ends it with, the truth is coming out and I'm not afraid to share it to the public anymore. She's all about freedom of speech until someone else starts talking. Anyways, she doesn't answer my calls or texts on Father's Day, so I don't get to see the baby. I'm not even shocked at this point. On June 20th, we head to the Bahamas for Hadley's brother's wedding. My parents were supposed to keep the baby for the weekend, but at the last moment, Maria asked if she could keep the baby instead. I say, sure, trying to keep the peace. Naturally, 2 seconds later, she's texting my mom. She's saying that I chose my girlfriend over my daughter, and now she's going back to court for full custody. My mom calls her out and says exactly what everybody else is thinking. You've micromanaged his every move, he's never bashed you publicly, and you've wished him dead more than once. And she was right. So it's June, and according to the court order, I'm supposed to have the baby for the whole month. But as usual, Maria was picking and choosing what rules apply. June 25th, this is what her family loves to twist. The infamous Lowe's incident. Here's what actually happened. The night before, on the phone, Maria told me that I could pick the baby up from school in the morning. So I did. We ran some errands, grabbed lunch, and then we went to Lowe's. While I'm there, I text her and ask if I could keep the baby overnight. She calls me immediately. Her response, not thanks, not sure. Is Hadley with you? I said yes, and instantly she flips.
That never fails. These baby mamas don't want to know that their child may be around your new woman, but she can have a man around the child whenever she wants. That's how them stay. See?
She says that she's coming to Lowe's right now. I was like, no, you're not gonna make a scene in Lowe's. I'll just drop Hadley off and then I'll bring her back to your house like we planned. I hang up and then I reiterate what I said on the phone through text. I put away my phone while I'm driving. I check my phone when I park at Hadley's house. Apparently, Maria's at Lowe's now. I had multiple missed calls from my dad. I call him back and he tells me that Maria has called him. And apparently, she was running up and down the aisles at Lowe's screaming that her daughter had been kidnapped. Oddly enough, her family doesn't deny this part. They just said that I didn't answer the phone for hours. The drive from Lowe's to Hadley's house is 17 minutes. I called Maria back and she starts making threats. Hadley tells me to hang up and text her because I need this in writing. That enrages Maria, but we'll get back to that soon. Regardless, I brought her back with no issue. On August 5th, Maria lets me see the baby again. A few days later, she comes inside Hadley's house. She meets Hadley's kids, she goes into their bedroom, she even played dolls with one of her daughters for a minute. Then, when she comes back to pick the baby up, all three of Hadley's kids are there, standing at the door, waiting by. And this is the same woman that went online and told people that Hadley lost custody of all of her kids. She knew that was a lie. She met the kids and stood in their home. That wasn't confusion, that was strategy. Maria knew that if she could convince people that Hadley was a terrible person, the attention would shift off of her, and the truth wouldn't matter anymore. She wasn't trying to defend herself, she was just trying to take Hadley down because she was helping me. And they hated her for it. They knew she had a platform, they knew that people online loved to cancel large creators, so they made her the target, because that was easier than answering for what they had done. On August 10th, I did the first DNA test. That video and the fallout after will be next. But for now, people have said that Maria only shared stuff privately on her Facebook to family and friends. That's just not true. But even if those posts were private, they weren't. Explain this. Maria and her friends were in Hadley's comment section months before I made a video. They were harassing her and spreading lies, trying to bait her into saying something back. Hadley didn't respond, she just deleted it and moved on. Meanwhile, they're in her comments saying that I was behind on child support and that she moved me into her house after only knowing me for 3 months. For the record, none of that is true. But they weren't interested in the facts. They were interested in turning the internet against her before I ever said one word. And I sat there with DNA results in my hand, knowing everything they were saying was a lie. And that's when it really hit me. This wasn't just about controlling me anymore. This was about making sure no one ever believed me. And if they had to ruin Hadley to do that, they didn't care. On October 8th, I finally posted the truth. I shared the DNA results, I told my story, and I kept it factual. And immediately, Maria's cousin Michelle jumped in to have these DMs. She said, "You're the problem. Brett was never this competent until you were in his ear. He never questioned anything before you." And there it was. It was never about the DNA test. It was never about co-parenting. They were just angry because I was not easy to control anymore. And Hadley? It was never the villain. They just hated that someone finally gave me the strength to stand up for myself. And what really blows my mind is how many creators took their side. Even after Michelle publicly posted that she ever saw Hadley, it was on site. She wasn't even hiding it. She was threatening violence, admitting to lying, and openly trying to destroy her. And instead of calling that out, these creators amplified it. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't look at any of the facts. They just picked up the pitchfork and joined in. So if you're one of those people who helped them do it, you didn't just get it wrong. You helped abusers keep their power. I'll be waiting for an apology.
That's how these women are, my brethren. They love to defend each other, not knowing all sides of the story. Just the sisterhood side. Don't hold your breath. They will not be apologizing.
And that's when I immediately called my mom. I just said, "I'm not the dad." By July, I was done. I told her, if you're not going to follow the agreement, neither am I. And so, I quit paying her. I asked her if I could keep the baby. She said, "Once you pay, then we can discuss." I told Hadley I wasn't paying her, and we got into it. She's like, "You have everything you need to take her back to court. If I stop paying, all the judge is going to hear is that I stopped paying child support." I understood what Hadley was saying, but I was at my breaking point. And then I hear from my mom. Now she's telling my parents that they can't even see the baby anymore because I refuse to care for her. Which, to Maria, that just means I'm not paying her enough. And it's the same thing that she always does. When she can't control me, she goes to my parents because she knows that works. I caved after 6 days and paid her. Just like that, I was allowed to see the baby again. Hadley had brought up DNA test, and me thinking court was imminent, I thought it was a good idea to go ahead and order it. So that weekend when I had the baby, I decided to do it. So me and Hadley are just laying on the couch, laughing about something, and that's when I get a notification. It's an email from Paternity Lab. After I open this email, I read it, and I think I'm reading it wrong, but I scan it 3 times, and I see 0%. I look at Hadley, and I say, "I'm not the dad." And I just drop my phone. And she picks it up, and she says, "You're reading it wrong." You know, she starts scanning it, you know, and zooming in, and I'm over here just with my hands over my head. She looked at me and she said, "You're not the dad," and it just felt unreal. I felt shock.
Can you imagine going through all that this man has endured and finding out the child isn't yours? That's the kind of blood-clot foolishness that breaks a man, Bridget. Breaks him to the core.
And that's when I immediately called my mom. Whenever she answered, I just said, "I'm not the dad." She didn't know us taking the test. It was a complete shock to her. She yelled at me. She said that that's not real. There's no way. At one point, she was like, "There's no way. Y'all have the same eyelashes. Y'all have the same toes." And I said, "Mama, everybody has eyelashes. I just looked at everything. That's not my kid." So after a week, there's this incredibly weird, silence. I feel this pressure on me to, make a decision, and I'm trying to tell everybody what else to do, and I don't even know what to do myself. And one night, Hadley comes up to me, and she says that, "Hey, babe, we can just pretend none of this happened. Whatever you want to do, I support you 100%. And after thinking on that, it was definitely an option. No one else knows. We could just go on, continue with our regular lives. I wasn't thinking about Maria and how she treated me at this point. It was just me thinking about my relationship with my daughter. I think 2 days went by, and all I could think about during those 2 days was how unfair it was that the real dad had been robbed of all this time with her, all those special moments that I spent with her. That is something that he never got to have. I felt like I was taking that if I was to not tell the truth. So at this point, I still haven't made a decision. My parents still don't believe it at all. I decided to do another DNA test, and I wanted to see the baby and see how I still felt whenever I held her. So everything was fine at first. She was calling me Dada, and just every time she would call me Dada, it just started to eat at me. At one point, I just started uncontrollably crying, and I had to call my mom to come get her. I couldn't do the test that day. So her mom comes and picks her up, and Hadley being Hadley, she calms me down, and the next morning, I know that I still need to do the test. My mom brings the baby back down, and that's when we did the second test. I knew exactly how the results would be, and I knew this would be the last time I see her. And that was the single most worst day of my life. And as I'm trying to grieve this, I still have to keep quiet. I'm trying to talk to attorneys. I'm trying to keep my cool. And I still have Maria harassing me and abusing me through messages when I know at this point that it's not my kid. I started telling friends and family, and everybody's in shock.
The probability of paternity is 0%. Bro!
Isn't that the most insane thing you've ever seen in your life?
I hired a lawyer, and he said, do not contact Maria again until she's served. For the first few weeks, I was just sad, and then there was this moment. Hadley and I were just sitting there, and she kind of mumbled under her breath, I can't believe she called me a whore. And both of us just started dying laughing. This was the first moment where I was like, what the did I just go through? And then small town people start talking, and I start getting messages like this. I guess all of her friends always knew who the real baby daddy was, but no one bothered to tell me. And I was pissed. I started looking at this tattoo every day. She would post this tattoo on her Facebook, and now knowing that her friends knew, I start wondering, were they laughing at me the whole time? I started to hate looking at my own arm, and I didn't want the tattoo anymore. It had nothing to do with the baby, it had everything to do with Maria. Hadley suggested that I either get it covered or removed. After some thought, I thought a line through it would symbolize moving on from the abuse, but not forgetting the child that I love. In October, Maria gets served a lawsuit, but not before I heard the process server say this.
I've been down this road with her before. Yeah, who was the guy? Did some kind of swimming pool building or something that she was fooling around with.
Apparently she's been in lawsuits with men before. I had no idea. After she was served, I gave her plenty of time because I asked Hadley how she would react if her kid's dad served her with paperwork showing DNA results that he wasn't the dad. And Hadley said I would immediately call him and tell him to get his down here and do another DNA test in front of me because I know they're his kids. But what does Maria do? For the first time ever, she's quiet. So I post my video to my 100 followers only to clear my name. I don't mention Hadley's name at all, and I keep the baby's identity hidden. Then the messages start rolling in. Shortly after, I'm served with a restraining order and they're demanding I take down all my posts. And that's when they take the opportunity to start twisting the narrative online. And while I'm silenced for 6 months, I start unraveling the truth about everyone in Maria's web of lies. First up on the list is Miss Vietnam.
There she is, Miss America.
I don't even think y'all motherfucking ready.
This man has more videos coming out. This is the state of the world we are living in when it comes to women weaponizing children against men. Once you sign that birth certificate, even if you are not the father, you are now legally on the hook. Even with his evidence, Virgin, even though this man has done DNA tests more than once, he is still paying child support to this day. My lions, don't let your anaconda lead you down this road. And don't trust no woman when them tell you anything about pregnancy and you will be off the hook. Don't trust nobody. Hold tight, we're gone again.